that its precise ontology is driven by conflict. What I mean is that democracy engenders conflict. That is why it is liberal, because it opens the space for the ventilation of grievances.
Because it's a contestation for power.
For power and ideas and values. When the president empaneled the national conference, he didn't gag anybody. He said the foundation of the Nigerian state as a coherent entity is invalid, but every other thing is on the table. People can roll their sleeves. People can even fight a little bit if they can, in order to passionately pursue their own core agenda, in order to do what? Key other agendas to build a collective Nigerian agenda. But democracy must evolve mechanism for resolving conflicts. That is where there's a disconnect. Under the military dispensation, there's a repressive rule. There is a shutdown of civil society and civil liberties. There's lack of constitutional governance. Even the judiciary is limited in the application of the law. But with democracy opening up, you saw the Niger Delta insurgency and all manners of contestations over land across the country. People begin to say, so I can really protest. I can really express myself and what is going to happen. And that is why Jonathan beats the chest to say, with the liberal democracy in place, with our robust press freedom, not one single journalist has been handed to exile, not one in detention, not one political opponent has even been harassed by his government or the security apparatus for loutish language. So we must at the same time know that as democracy builds opportunities for people to express themselves, we must equally ensure that those mechanisms put in place in key institutions to ensure that these conflicts are resolved are respected. That is number one. Number two, we are building in Nigeria a nation of laws, not a nation of signed documents and so on. People will say someone is part of political game to do negative campaign of a little bit. But when you cross the line between negativity and a challenge to the corporate foundation of the state, to say that if you do not win, then no government will ever take place in the country. You are building a nation of men, not of laws. Because you must have respect for that institution called INEC that organizes the election. You must have respect for the judiciary that has to intervene in case there is some disputation about the result. But when you say ab initio, in principle, I do not recognize INEC as being legitimate to conduct the election. Neither do I recognize the courts as being capable of adjudicating. I therefore must ensure that through self-help, my party must win. If it does not win, a parallel government must take place. It's a danger signal. And in conflict studies, we call it warning signals. Very key warning signs Nigerians must watch out for. As we watch the language of politicians, and as Marx talks about responsibilities and duties, we must watch when the language has veered from competitive politics to a pincer assault on the foundation of the democratic state. It's a very key warning sign for 2015.
Well, generally one would say that is from the perspective of political leaders. What can we say, all of you gentlemen, I want you to address this. What can we say are the expectations of the average or hopes of the average Nigerian for 2015?
I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think the average Nigerian would expect 2015 will have.
And when we talk about governance, we're talking about how we can put in place a structure that can help us to harness the best in us so we can conquer the basic problem of poverty that we have. Nigeria is a very rich country, but we need to be able to harness what we have maximally. And for Nigerians, what they want is a good government. And when I say good government, I mean the fact that we have to recognize the fact that we run a federal structure. And there's this unitary perception that everything about Nigeria is the federal government. We tend to ignore the fact that a lot goes on at the state level and local government level. And Nigerians want to see that collaborative, that partnership between the federal, state, and local government to addressing their problems, providing opportunity for them to get to the limits of their capacity, of their abilities. An inclusive system where they can get the best, like he said, good education, good health facilities, access to opportunities. And these are the things we're looking for. And if you look at it, and I've been arguing this for a long time, that federal government at any point in time is an amorphous entity. It is everywhere, it is nowhere. But the tier of government that directly affects the people is the state and local government. I think that we need to pay attention to that. And that is an area where I agree with Dr. Delta. we need to build a structure, non-state sector, non-state structure, that can get government at state and local government level to be more accountable. And if you say you're building palaces, you're building structures in the states, and people are hungry, there's unemployment, something must be suspect. It's either that you're doing it without the involvement of the people, or that there's capital flood going on in your state. So in a way, I think we need to make our federal structure more robust by making states and local government more accountable. And it's only when we do that we can get the best from the federal government. I mean, if you have all the federal roads, all the hospitals, without the states and local government doing what they ought to do under the Constitution, then we'll be talking about poverty for a long time.
Mr. Bennett.
Well, it is not easy to pick up who is an average Nigerian in the Nigeria of today. Because the public that you want to define, is it economic average or academic average? But in the whole, during the Christmas holidays, I visited the hinterlands, and there is a great disconnect between the federal government and the local government, the rural dwellers. And of course, the state have a selective approach to engaging the rural dweller in terms of, if you're not a member of their political clique, then you do not participate in either stomach infrastructure or democratic dividends. This started in 1999 when we thought, when the military handed over to us, that we are now going to reestablish the links, where in those days federal government had ministries in state as liaisons. Minister of Finance, state, Minister of Establishment, Minister of Works, state level, that were able to work hand in gloves with the state counterpart in delivering dividends of federal government to the rural area. But that 8 years of Obasanjo Atiku degraded that. It did not happen. Now, the Yaradua Jonathan era, you saw a new clique, young politicians that thought that the problem of Nigeria can easily be moved with a shovel. Then they discovered that they need earth-moving equipment, excavators, to be able to do that. So a lot of things were not done fundamentally by that Obasanjo's government for Jonathan to build upon. Jonathan found himself taking the ideology of his boss, the 7-point agenda, and begin to transform one after the other. First, the rail is moving. According to Dr. Emeka Kengu, he met 5,000 kilometers of road. He been able to add 29,000 kilometers. The power sector, when he saw that the previous administration sunk in $16 billion US with nothing to show for it, he did not want to follow that route. He decided to devalue and again privatize that sector in terms of distribution. And the issue now is the disco companies need to invest heavily in order to take Nigeria to the level of being industrialized, to be able to, again, live up to that dreams. So the average Nigeria, like my father when he was an average Nigeria, wanted to work in the civil service, had an expected time of retirement, and hoped that when he retires, he gets his pension as per when due. Today, the economy is something else, that many pensioners suffer a delay in receiving their pensions. And that cannot necessarily be attributed to this particular administration. One can roll it all as when the democracy came in and we failed to plan for this democratic adventure we entered into. So the average Nigerian does not want to die because he has a right to vote. He wants to go to the polling unit and cast his vote and let his vote count. He wants to choose his leaders. He does not want to be forced, a leader to be forced upon it. The average Nigerian farmer wants to be able to cultivate what he's going to sell to the market, and he wants to see a cooperative farming scheme where he can put money to his pocket while selling his goods. The average Nigerian wants to go to the hospital. I still remember the late Sani Abacha school, that the hospitals have become a consulting clinic. And what attempts were made to change it? In the 8 years of that Obasanjo, Billions were spent for rural primary health care that never took off, and nobody was really rebooked. So this government have to respend the money that was already spent in trying to do this. So the average woman wants a prenatal, a postnatal care to be taken care of. The average student in school wants to see textbooks. And these are the things that we may not be able to achieve if we do not work collectively and as a nation and attain that goal. And I think in the absence of that, then you have to look at the elitist public. What are their expectations? They are the ones who are not paying the right taxes to drive the economy. If they pay the right taxes, then the underclass will emulate them and pay the right taxes. So we need to really reevaluate the rules of engagement in order to have a better society that we're looking for in 2015.
Mr. Benitez, so many issues you raised there. Issue of payment of the right taxes and what have you. That brings to mind the issue of civic responsibility that Dr. Odenta had already harped on. But Dr. Odenta, what's your own take about what should be or are the expectations of the average Nigerian?
Yeah, I will look at it from a very general, abstract angle and then from a specific angle. I'm fond of saying that when Bill Clinton came calling some years ago and addressed a joint session of the National Assembly, he warned Nigerians, speaking at that podium, that this journey we embarked upon, democratizing or redemocratizing, will be a very long, torturous, difficult, and complicated process that will never permit instant fixes. Liberal democracy is not a military junta gangsterism, where a few people come together and say this must be so immediate effect. You have institutions, you have to build them, you must nurture them. You have structures, you have instruments, you must grow them over years and decades. So expectations sometimes are very slow in coming because the so-called dividends of democracy are not instantaneously given. I'm sure that we should look at the democratic journey, average Nigerians, including non-so-average Nigerians, including his father, later day father, from when he was average to when he was not average. We should look at our democratic process as not being made up of events, actually, or even loosely connected events. Our democratic system is a process-led engine. And process means putting so many variables, so many integers to make an equation. So an average Nigerian, on the basis of these grand expectations he put together, on health, on education, on work, on pension, and so on, must understand that the liberal democratic space, look at the Nigerian constitution, so many freedoms but very little right. It is not a product of Nigerian flaw. It's a product of capitalism. Freedom of association is guaranteed. Freedom of the press is guaranteed. Freedom of movement is guaranteed. Freedom to join the political party or form one of your own and seek for power guaranteed. But there's no way in that constitution where there's a right to work. There's no way in that constitution where the government is obliged to provide housing for everybody. There's no way in that constitution. No, I'm coming to that. That's why when you have to retool the constitution in such a way as to judicialize or make justiciable, justiciable, how do they call it in the lawyers, those aspects of the constitution that you cannot take to court. Now, everything now means building a democratic state requires grounding those institutions in such a manner as ultimately to respond to those issues that my colleagues raised.
Are we on that track?
On that track. But the second one that is more specific is the issue Marx here raised fundamentally. The Jonathan administration. It must be specific. If you can speak about democracy in abstract terms, people will not begin to understand the key moments of that democracy. When he came and launched national transformational agenda, what is transformation? It's a very deep-rooted, philosophically grounded change, not only in the infrastructural regime of a state, but in habits and values. He said 100 years of Nigerian history, we must deconstruct it to know what was good in the past, even during colonial times, and then bring that which was good into the contemporary period to build our future. We must then reject that which has been there and is not good, like ethnic impunity, like supremacy, like a contestation over nothing, like military despotism and so on, are things which we have to reject, like civil war, separating the country together. Build on those things which are positive. And how will he achieve it? He will achieve it based on the grand design, some of which Marx has even celebrated here. How about a public infrastructure, public works? How about aviation sector? How about education, especially the Nigerian education system? How about so many other dimensions of the public life that people have taken for granted by previous administrations? He took them head on. The result may not have matured as much as some people may have expected. But when you now have a situation where continuity can become possible, he found that somebody who has grounded his transformation agenda on reviving the railways, on doing what? Strengthening our national road apertures and road network system, trying to ground education in such a way that every single state has a federal university. So today, how come that some states do not have federal university? And our people are thirsting for knowledge. And most of the private schools are too expensive for them to go to. His government has built federal university for every single state in the country. Not to talk of the special education for special needful people. So this is what is called transformation that's going to impact on the life of the average Nigerian. Because that's the expectation you're talking about. But in broad sense, the average Nigerian is worried about 2015 for the specific reason that Max raised much earlier. If I'm in Zamfara, I should be able to celebrate Labour Party. I should be able to say I'm a proud member of the PDP, I'm a proud member of the APC, without somebody insulting, without somebody humiliating, without somebody antagonizing you. Average Nigeria requires a free society where, as they said, I have the right to cast my vote and every vote must count. Average Nigerian will, like even Gumi talked about, who said, I criticized the candidate of APC and all hell what ladies on my family. I got threat messages. I criticized the president of the country. There was calm in my household. There was nobody who bothered my life. So he said, therefore, democracy in 2015 may only work if only one man wins. That is when peace will be guaranteed, because my own family experience means that if this man doesn't win, there will not be peace. That's not what every Nigerian wants. They want a station where you can go to the ballot poll without being hindered, without let, and then cast your vote the way your conscience tells you. What are the basic expectations of mankind?
So how can we now say that, how can we make 2015 the watershed that holds the answers to most of the political anomalies we have analyzed? How do we do it?
You can make it very simple.
Yeah.
One, there are many entities that come together to make a successful election, because whether we like it or not, economy, social life, culture are somehow or the other interwoven and integrated with the political life of a state. Even the classical philosophers of the left, like Marx will tell you, every struggle among classes, political struggle, even though the struggle is about bread and butter. So anybody who thinks that is a life for an average Nigerian outside this election coming is wasting his time. Nigerians must be, one, conscious of the importance of this coming election, whether as a candidate, as a party man, or as a voter, or even a non-voter. Two, the institutions that are designed to make the election work must live up to expectation. INEC must be ready with the right tools, resources, skills, and assets to operationalize whatever mandate given to it. Three, the local observers and international observers who are welcome to observe our elections, every nook and cranny, must be fair, objective, and dispassionate in the assessment of the process. Four, the security agencies. I'm happy the President read the Riot Act. What happened in 2011 should not be allowed to repeat itself again. There must therefore be adequate protection of law-abiding citizens. Any party can shout to high heavens about elections being militarized. That could be a party that looks for violence as a means to power. The state must provide canopy of security everywhere for people to feel free. Because the security people do not know voters what party affiliations they have. So you cannot therefore say that voter A or voter B is being chased by the security. They don't know what affiliation they have, but they must be present, but under the rules of engagement given them to ensure that they do not impinge on the voting process. Five, most crucially, the political parties and their leaders. The language that comes from some of the political leaders of this country, not the full law, they reconcile. Remember the saying. Let
Mr. Gbanete take it off from there. You have already repeated that.
I'm quite excited when he mentioned Zamfara in his analysis, because right now in Kebbi State, there is a campaign that those who vote for PDP are Christians. They are Kafirs. This late in the election, we don't need that.
At all.
Where the media...
In
Kebbi State. Now, what I would like to see the media houses do in collaboration with National Orientation Agency And National Orientation Agency cannot be seen to be PDP Orientation Agency or APC Orientation Agency. It is a National Orientation Agency. They had 4 years to partner or synergize with INEC. Instruments of government are like a chain link fence. They must link with one another. They should be able to tell Nigerians, I envy what TAN, this is the face of TAN, what TAN did for the PDP infrastructure. But for Nigerian infrastructure, telling us that we should not die because we want to vote for a leadership. Telling us that being a Christian or being a Muslim is an individual right. No two members of a family make paradise without being judged independently. That those who are the custodian of spiritual transformation, Bishop Kuka, Onaikon, His Eminence Sultan, Sheikh Gumi that he mentioned, Zakzaki, Fadambaka, Bishop Chukuma, Okogie in Lagos, all of them owe it to this nation, Adebayo, Oyebode, to calm their followers down. Rather than incite followers to vote for someone based on their religion, you vote for the unity of this nation. You vote for competence in this country. I am alarmed at the level that religious leaders have taken this nation. Particularly, I want to draw Enugu State because I'm from Enugu State. You have an Anglican bishop wake up and say that the next deputy governor must be an Anglican. Nobody talks about that. A Christian is a Christian. Then you come up to Kaduna, Zakzaki and the Gumi are doing an interreligious infighting. We don't need that at all. This is a moment when we look at us and say, are we Nigerians first? After all, before you become a Christian, you must be baptized, and it takes 7 days to do that. So you came as a Nigerian first. Likewise, Islam. Before you become a Muslim, you must be baptized 7 days after birth. So who stands for Nigeria? If the opposition and the ruling party kill this nation, what will be left to govern? What will be left to put the infrastructure of ICT? We don't need that. So NTA, AIT, all the media
NTA
houses
is doing that already.
Wait a minute. What I'm trying to
That's why you're here.
Wait a minute. What I'm trying to say is 30 minutes in a day or 10 minutes in a day where there is a broadcast as part of your social responsibility, a broadcast reminding Nigerians about our responsibility to keep this nation one. I always enjoy going back to history when during the war there was this slogan in the East during the Civil War that he who is surrounded by enemy does not sleep. They keep their eyes open all the time. And the phrase caught us. We didn't sleep. So he who is surrounded with advent of destruction, advent of disintegration of nation, must do that required to make sure you don't disintegrate. We are overstretching our security forces who are required in the Northeast to do the needful. We don't need during election to downgrade the security forces in the Northeast and spread them in order to bring peace into an election. It should be a peaceful process. People can argue to and fro, but the issue of killing cannot happen. That's why I hope that the opposition leadership can come out truly and denounce the issue of forming parallel government in order to restore the integrity of the judiciary, because some of them are beneficiaries of this judicial injunction, notably Rotimi Amechi, who is canvassing for anarchy. He became a governor without campaigning for an election, and judiciary did it for him. And people asked the judiciary to revise itself. The judiciary said, we stand by our word. So today, he is fighting the same judiciary by not choosing or going along with NJC in the appointment of the chief judge of his state. So, and I find it quite disjointed seeing people like that praying openly to God. and you are advocating for anarchy that is going to kill people. It's quite unfortunate, and we need to move away from the democracy of violence to democracy of love, voting for one another. You know?
Moving away from the democracy of violence or
Yes.
perceived violence, Dr. Adebayo, Mr. Gbanite mentioned certain silent issues there. He talked about making National Orientation Agency not affiliated to a political party. I remember in your other days, you were a director in the National Orientation Agency. How can we use that agency now to do all the things Dr. Udenta and Mr. Gbanite are talking about?
Yeah, the National Orientation Agency has never been identified with any political party. It had existed as a national institution promoting new values, disseminating new technologies, reaching out to people in the millions at the rural level. That is why it has structure all over the country. And I think one of the things it has to do quickly too is to engage different structures of our communities through enlightenment, of course, by getting them to understand the fact that leaders who preach violence.
We have barely 4 or 5 weeks to the election. How will it begin to do that?
If you do that intensely, you could make a lot of changes. See, I've always believed that if you really want to make change, you really have to have a combination of the mass media as well as interpersonal communication. The mass media alone cannot do it. The mass media are regarded as secondary reinforcing channels. But the interpersonal channel of NOAA can actually have this impactful engagement with the people. And I think one of the reasons why leaders are irresponsible in their statements is because there's nobody holding them to account. They make statements and they get away. With talk at the fringes allow them to escape. And I think one of the things we need to do when somebody makes...
Who should hold them to account?
The
government or the
civil society. This is our own. It's not a government thing. This is our own. This is a Nigerian thing. The election is not about president or about PDP or APC. The election is about Nigeria. I'm at Nigerians. It is us. The people must rise up to sanction such leaders. When people come and say they will form parallel government, what do they mean? People must rise up to challenge them. That is where I think organized civil society must rise up to play a role. And I think they need to have a relationship with the mass media. Again, such statements are broadcast. Why is NCC, NBC? When such statements are made, they should be sanctioned.
Doctor, he's following the bad behavior of Obasanjo, who said election is do or die.
It's not do or die, no. There are rules. There are rules. The NBC is empowered to sanction media houses that broadcast hate messages. They should be sanctioned. And civil society must hold them to account. See, if we allow them to go away with reckless statements, they get emboldened, will complain in the fringe, and they think they can get away with it. And therefore, NOAA must rise up at this point, mobilizing civil society, mobilizing the mass media, and reaching out to the grassroots, galvanizing the community groups to hold these people to account.
They don't have the money.
No, it doesn't. It's not all money.
Exactly. I was going to come
I was there.
to that.
I was there.
You were there. If NOAA now says it lacks funds, haven't been there before, what avenues do you think they should pursue?
What we did when I was there, we were able to attract both external funding and local funding
What
to
year
get.
then? What year?
I left the place 2010.
Very good. That time I think NOAA was under the Ministry of Information.
No.
No, Mr. Benjamin, let him finish. Let him finish.
The issue is not where NOAA is. The issue is the creativity to take the place to the next level. See, it's not all about money.
That's Napoleon.
The structure is there. You need to, and the more work you do, the more resources that come your way. We were able to attract funding because we had programs targeting
and you had
the
partnerships.
grassroots. Yes, we had partnerships.
And they can still do it now.
We can still do it. The time is still ripe. They have time. Engage civil society, engage groups at the community level, get leaders to be accountable. When people make reckless statements, let them pay for it.
Dr. Bindel,
Yes,
people should pay for their reckless statements.
In the technology.
Well, I
anyway.
think this is very interesting submissions, but my Oga here, I don't want to start a religious discussion, but when a Muslim child is born, is a born Muslim. There is no baptism after 7 days. It's a naming ceremony. So, but anyway, I think we are spilling too much energy on electioneering and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
The key thing is that what we don't notice is that we are institutionalizing a lot of elements of primitivity and backwardness, as far as I am concerned, where we don't concentrate on things that make people think freely. It doesn't matter what anybody tells me now. You know, as a Muslim, I can sit in front of my malam, he can tell me I will take what I want and I will leave what I don't want. I can go to my boss, So how do you get people to that level? And as far as I'm concerned, professionally, in the line that I spend most of my life in is the education. Our education system has to sharpen. And we are not noting some dangerous trends. Look, this country has 129 universities. 40 of these universities are federal government universities. If you go to even the first generation universities, you go to University of Ibadan, for example, from the gate, if you can't speak Yoruba language and you get into that university, you'll feel very uncomfortable. The same thing if you go to Lagos to a certain extent. Same thing when you go to Abu. If you can't speak Hausa language, you feel very uncomfortable.
And they
you
call
go to
those
Usuka. Now, these trends...
And they call those institutions universities?
This is now the key issue. When you are monorizing the culture, you are... In fact, some of these universities, the registration processes is in a lingua. It has happened to me as a professorial material in a university in a part of Nigeria. I was just looking for a mosque. People were stopping me because I was wearing a gown. Hey, where do you think you're going? So these are dangerous things. These are the children and young people for the future. So we must take our education very, very seriously.
So in fact, it appears we have fundamental problems more than...
Very, very. You know, as a scientist, I will assume that by February, March, April, all these issues, come what may, will get over elections. So what? The next thing is you must have young people who will look at opportunities that are scattered all over the country. Young people who are free to think. Young people who are going to, and then to do this, we must get it right from the primary school, right up to universities. I was in South Korea. I mean, it's very terrible to compare these things, but I visited a primary school, and these children were being taught robotics at primary school level. And I nearly cried. I mean, even at university level, PhD level, you are studying PhD. In some universities in Nigeria, you do not have access to this kind of facilities. Yet, Nigeria has an Earth observation satellite in orbit. We have a communication satellite in orbit, and we are not utilizing these facilities to ensure that we shock treat our education system. If we do shock treat...
How do we utilize these facilities? Because the facilities themselves don't even tell Nigerians what they are doing.
This is now the issue. This is now the future, as far as I'm concerned. Nigeria should set a standard to say that every single primary school in Nigeria must have access to the internet. Teachers in Nigerian universities must be motivated. Primary school teachers should also carry their own notebook, like I carry my notebook to my office. When you start working on that track, naturally, you will now start seeing people, even if somebody is trying to advise them wrongly, they will say, no, let me go and do a search and see what is happening in so and so. But when you have people who are mono-thinking, monocultured, everything is mono, then it's easy to actually incite, it's easy to actually deceive, it's easy to convince, and that's why people see signals of badness. But I think we are seriously domesticating, culturalizing, and really institutionalizing these elements of backwardness. And so in 2015, I hope that we can notice this and be able to shock treat these things very, very seriously.
Exactly. How do we use 2015 as a watershed for Nigeria's socio-economic development? Dr. Bindo has already started, put us all along that track. So let's look at that and move on.
I think we have a short time to the election. But I think the major expectation that political parties will tell us what they want to do. We need to begin to discuss policies, not personalities. We need to begin to discuss issues. What we need to do to take Nigeria to the next level. The issues he raised are issues of fundamental policy. And the politicians and leadership are the ones who can decide on that. And that's, again, the point I was raising earlier, that primary schools is essentially a state and local government issue. And if federal, state, and local government do not cooperate and partner together, you cannot get it right at that level. And therefore, the point is people should begin to talk about issues. What do they want to do for us? So they're talking about being lawless after election. Let Nigerians be given adequate information about what you want to do so they can go out and exercise their franchise in an informed manner.
And how can the media make sure they do that?
Well, the media must drive the process, because by virtue of your responsibility as the fourth estimate realm, you engage politicians and political leaders. Instead of encouraging these reckless statements, you need to ask them, what do you want to do for us? Because the election is about policies, about policy choices. It's about a contract between the Nigerians and a political party who wins. Therefore, we need to know what they want to do. Enough of all this grandstanding, enough of this reckless treatment or insightful statements or hate statements. We need to talk about what they want to do. And for me, not just talking about what you want to do, how you want to do it. Political parties are fond of telling us what they will do. They can tell they want to build a moon, yes. But how do you want to do it? How do you want to monitor it? How do you want Nigerians to hold you accountable? I have gone through all the political party manifestos, the one that I see, and I've seen only one with a manifesto that has an implementation framework as well as a monitoring framework that is evaluating itself on a yearly basis. Others talk about all these issues and they think Nigerians are fools. So the media must get them to talk about what they want to do, how they want to do it, and how Nigerians will evaluate them.
Apart from the media, Mr. Gbanite, what other sectors or what other institutions can we use so that we remain focused?
When Dr. Bello was speaking about every child in primary school, secondary school, holding a notebook and computer, you can begin to see opportunities in the energy sector, because you must power your notepad and your computer.
And our computer.
That means the distribution companies have more opportunity to recover their investments. Now, when you have factories operating 24/7, first shift, second shift, third shift, you have less miscreants on the street.
Yeah.
So, from a satellite perspective, we have a satellite that talks about weather. I want to see a commitment by the government to allow the next satellite to be a military application, so that the international community that disappointed us in locating the Chibok girls with artificial intelligence can continue on their own while we are seeing the whole Nigeria. It gives us the opportunity to do a geospatial mapping of Nigeria to know the nooks and crannies of this nation. I see an opportunity of a government funding its security agencies where you have special forces that can move in and do an incisive work and get you the needed result immediately. I see opportunity for a government to look at the added value of value chain in agriculture, that you don't just produce beans for export. What are the beans extracts? That you don't just produce tomato that goes to waste. How do you can these tomatoes? So what do you now do? A sensible government can now say we are going to give a tax break to the billionaires, the Dangotes, the Tedolas. If you come in, not only in the oil sector, come in and set up industries in these areas based on the raw materials on those areas in order to create more employment in Nigeria. These are opportunities. I look at our maritime and I say that we have not yet really taken, again, advantage of our maritime. This is an area that drives 90% of your economy, and you are not providing adequate funding for this defense. The aviation gives you 10%. So you look at manufacturing sector and you see opportunities, opportunities, opportunities. Then I want to see a president who has learned the hard lesson with the drop of crude oil, who really promised grain refinery about 3 years ago to begin to say, look, let us have consortium. If there is really oil, as I suspect, in Sokoto. We are not going to pipeline it. We are going to build a refinery next to that oil well in Sokoto and begin and develop a petrochemical industry. Saudi Arabia is having a laugh last because they're planned well ahead. So even if the price goes to $2 per barrel, they can sustain their economy for much longer before the price begins to come up. So we need to be able to say, this is what is going to happen. And then politicians key in these things by saying, my party is going to do X, Y, Z for the next generation Nigerians. But at this particular point in time, it appears the only person who have really said, look at what I have done and look at what I intend to do is Jonathan. And we need to really create better opportunities for him to do more. But if this election comes and his party cost him the election, the party must blame themselves for not being able to propagate the good things that they did. Thank God the face of TAN is here. Without TAN, majority of us wouldn't have known the achievements of this government as good as it was. So they need to really tell Nigerians. And then...
So are you saying the party failed?
The party failed their leadership, in my own view. And then I want to also look at the opposition party who are telling us that what they are doing. Then you aggregate the leadership of opposition party and find out that majority of what they did and accomplished, they did when they were in the other party. So who is fooling who? Nigeria, look, Kudu, I want to see an opportunity. The hat you're wearing, if you make it red, white, and blue, that is American flag. You can sell 10 million in the US. We haven't taken advantage of AGOA. What happened to the AGOA project that I helped to fight in the United States to get Nigeria the accreditation? What did Obasanjo's 8 years with Atiku? What foundations did they lay for AGOA? What foundations do they lay for our education? I am really, really very pissed off the manner with which the former president is going around trying to disorganize a system that he helped to put in place.
Let's look at the power sector and how do we, what improvements should we do or can we do to the power sector to be able to revive the ailing industries, Dr. Udenta?
Well, first and foremost is that I want to make a little bit of clarification. TAN had a moment as a public advocacy platform. And the public advocacy platform is to change narrative. The narrative in the media was excessively negative, but not founded on any logic, on any truth, on any verifiable fact. Therefore, TAN moment was a moment to say the president has indeed outperformed other previous presidents, his predecessors, in their first term. But we do not find a reportage of this performance captured well in the media. Let us just mobilize resources, get our case together, and then push on that false narrative. And it worked very well. Now is the party moment. TAN actually is just a complementary role to the party that has now had to get its bearing and then build a campaign infrastructure and drive an electoral process. That's a different kind of scenario altogether. That's one. Two,
do you agree with Mr. Benite that the party failed?
No,
that's why
that's what I'm making that clarification.
Oh, I see.
The TAN moment was an advocacy moment. It wasn't the party moment. That's why TAN was
and it
running.
wasn't the failure of the party.
That was why the TAN was running a very sensitive.
And it wasn't the failure of the party.
No, not at all. Like, they're running a very sensitive thing. Is it a political party? No. Is it an affiliate of the party? No. An NGO? Yes. Political party members are saying, you are doing rallies. Are you campaigning? We said, no. We are doing citizens' conversation, which means mobilizing the people to key into governance, voter education. Party can't do it. Can't have run the kind of campaign we did or the kind of rallies we did. Now is the time for the party, beginning Thursday, to show its muzzle and then to show its bite. That's one. Two, government and its policies are founded on elections, on politics. It's a brilliant professorial analysis on empowerment, on developing infrastructure, building our technological application capabilities, and so on. But we equally encourage our scholars and intellectuals and the public at large to key into the political matters of the moment. One lousy statement, one silly mistake can plunge the entire country into a state of distress we can't come out from. It's important to know that.
Yeah, Dr. Odanta, the issues are really there. That is why we are saying moving Nigeria forward in peace and tranquility. This is the focus of this discussion, and as we now go for a commercial break, when we come back, we will come back with Dr. Odanta to espouse this moment and these issues. Don't go away.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Welcome back. It's still Tuesday Live. Moving Nigeria forward in peace and tranquility is our focus as we discuss 2015 elections and beyond. Dr. Odanta, you are talking about using liberal democracy to
build a better society.
Exactly.
Begin this 2015. Take one example. We're discussing off camera. Your vote counts. What is the quality of your vote? When, before you vote, maybe a small half bag of rice, a small cube of sugar, and so on, will be placed before you. And the man placing it before you is the man who expects you to vote. That vote doesn't count. The vote counts on the basis of knowledge. You know what you're voting for. Somebody, an individual, and a party has what is called social contract. It's debt. A politician owes. You come to the people and say, I'm going to build you road. I'm going to give you education, quality education. I'm going to enhance technology application. I'm going to do this. You are actually doing what I owe you. And someday you have to be asked to pay back. That payback is that I have my vote to put you there. And then when I put you there, you must then pay back by implementing those things which you told me you're going to do.
That brings us to the issue of where it appears the focus is on just the presidency.
Now,
why not the legislature?
I said legislator, the councillor. In your village, who comes to tell you that this culvert linking one village to the other village is so damaged, but if you elect me, I'm going to fix it. You see that market that when the rain pours, everybody runs away. I'm going to zinc it, roof it with corrugated iron sheets. You see that small school, near that village square with dilapidated walls. I'm going to fix it all right. That again is the IOU. with the people elect him as a councillor, they have to now demand from him the implementation of those things, which means to redeem the pledge he has made. It is at that level of consciousness, growing the consciousness of the people, that they become citizens who are co-participants in the process of decision making and development.
Is this the consciousness we are saying the National Orientation Agency should build?
The National Orientation Agency should not even be the only force driving it. Different political parties must begin to reinforce their ideological values and philosophical foundation. The PDP has the PDI, the People's Democratic Institute. The APC, we hope, should go beyond the politics of hate, and as we say, politics of power and government, to form another institution within their own party, to start inculcating the values of governance, of discipline, of comportment, and so on. The aggregate picture is simple. If you do not get your politics right, you will never get the economy right. You see, people do not understand that. You cannot veer off tangent and say the economy must grow itself, must be diversified. You have to build this, special refinery in Sokoto because you found oil there.
Are we on track to get the politics right?
The politics to be gotten right.
Are we on track?
We're on track. You know why we're on track? We're celebrating, however you look at it, 16 years of unbroken civil governance. First Republic was 5.5 years or roughly. Second Republic was 4 years plus. The so-called aborted Third Republic of Babangida was actually a year or 2 years plus. Abacha never transited fully. Now we have, for the first time, practice the same makes perfect. We do not want perfection on the side of those primitive conceptions of politics that my brother Prof talked about. We want perfection in those salient features of liberal democracy, that we grow our economy, increase the human development index, reduce poverty, increase wealth of the people. We are getting it right in many respects. And that is why this election this year is very definitive. You know why it is a defining moment for Nigeria? At the beginning of this discussion, Mas raised the issue of why do some American scholars under the Council on Foreign Relations, they tasked some group of scholars to put a document, what they called conflict monitoring scenarios across Africa and some other developing countries. They used a whole lot of intelligence data on Nigerian country profile and country report, and then try to simulate through scenario building the kind of features such countries will have. And now they did not actually predict that 2015 Nigeria is going to dissolve as a nation state, but that the process of dissolution could become ingrained in the politics of that moment. We are on that threshold. That is why all care must be taken. We are going to witness an election that will be defined by the core values of oneness and unity, and the people of this country united around the banner of unity and oneness and tranquility on the basis that whatever result that the election produces represents the will of the people. When in doubt, you go to court.
Now, let's leave it there for now. Let's take this call, Dr. Udenta. Abubakar is on the line from Minna, Niger State. Abubakar, you are on Tuesday Live. Can you put down the volume of your TV set, Abubakar, so that you can speak to us? It appears we have lost him. Dr. Udenta, you are saying...
In conclusion, my perspective is very simple. For those of us who carry what we call the red badge of courage, I spent months, seven times, in detention. From 93 to 98, on cold cement floor, giving my all, together with all the patriots, for the survival of democracy.
It appears Abubakar is back. Abubakar, you are on Tuesday Live. Oh, we've lost him.
And now, he mentioned Amechi, a governor without a pre-1999 history. These guys just came from the blue. They didn't know the struggle. They didn't know the lives lost. People in exile, giving their all to have this democracy coming. It's very important. It's not about party. It's about securing the future of this country and our democracy. Or find a Fashola who pastime is to abuse and lambast the president. But as I said, no pre-99 history is important. When you have that history, you be cautious. You be careful because there's a burden you carry. That burden is that you know where you're coming from, we do not want to go there. When you talk of pirate government, you talk of government which is founded on self-help. You are literally asking the forces to intervene in the politics of your country. We passed that stage and crossed that threshold a long time. Therefore, in summation, every patriot, beyond party, across the partisan line, and among the people themselves, with the media keyed in, with national orientation factoring their honest parties in, must begin to seize the moment and begin to educate Nigerians and warn and admonish our leaders, especially those who are bent on reckless use of language. It's very, very important for this note of warning to be sounded using this massive platform. Because it's all about Nigeria. It's about our children. It's about our future. It's not about anybody who's going to grab power anyhow.
Yeah, Dr. Odonta, you have made your point about the linkage between politics and the economy.
And governance.
And governance. So let's look at the side of the economy. Because we are looking beyond 2015, certainly. I mean, there's life after 2015.
And about the power
all of you gentlemen have talked about most of the institutions that you said are already in place. We're on the road, we're on the right track, and all that. So let's look at how to diversify this economy, and given the fact that even the price of the barrel of oil is going down. I mean, so let's start from the issue of power sector. What do we do to the power sector to revive the ailing industries?
Well, I commend the administration on the roadmap used in establishing the DISCOs. It was quite transparent.
You mean the distribution
companies? It was quite transparent. But from a strategic energy perspective, we need to look at the wind corridor of Nigeria, which can also give us another 5,000 to 6,000 megawatts of power. Then, if local governments are empowered, you find out that the chairman of local government, with his budget, which is not abducted by a state governor, could have what we call a solar farm to actually power his community. And there are various small-scale industries that such solar farms can be able to power.
How do you empower the local government?
That is what I'm trying to say.
When they don't have financial
That's
autonomy
what I'm saying.
for now.
If
So what should be the way out?
If he has a financial autonomy, and the state governors that are impeding this transformation should remember that it is not about the now. It is about the strategic future of the nation. Therefore, you should allow the financial autonomy of a local government, because everybody cannot live in Abuja. If the local government chairman has his financial autonomy, he'll be able to develop his immediate vicinage and enable people to work within that particular area. Another thing that I would like to see Shopee do, it is not about funding the rehabilitation of roads. Shopee should get involved in setting up a vocational institution in every local government. Vocational institution that will teach technical abilities to the young people. University may not be for everyone. You must give someone an option to be an auto engineering mechanic, to be an electrician, to be a technician, so that when you begin to get industries outsourced to Nigeria, because you have power stability, then you have the technical people that can work. GE in Calabar are facing serious challenges. So what did they do? They invested in a technical school there to train those who will work in their industries. These are opportunities. Then the agricultural sector...
Mr. Wellington, we'll come back to you, but let's take this call. Al-Hassan is on the line from Lagos. Al-Hassan from Lagos, you are on to Tuesday Live. This is Tuesday Live. Al-Hassan, you're on to Tuesday Live.
Well, I can continue.
Yeah, I think you can.
You see, if you did not privatize the NITEL and you rehabilitated NITEL, which is the core of your telecommunication security, the embarrassment we are facing would not be happening. You would have had your core lines or fixed lines working. So I am aghast at that privatization because it leaves our telecommunication open. None is indigenous except Glo. It means that the president have to speak in coded language. Otherwise, South Africa will decipher everything he's saying. But coming back to strategic placement in agriculture, We have come to a level where now we are going to say, what does China need in soybeans to survive? What does India need in palm oil to survive? And we begin to produce for such nations under strategic alliance, whereby we go to China and we say, give us upfront development fund for the agriculture, and you have zoned areas for the cultivation of soybean, and make sure that 50 or 60% of your production are earning foreign exchange. India buys $10 billion worth of palm oil from Malaysia. They are looking for new sources, and Nigeria can be the strategic source for India. India is looking for partnership with Nigeria in shipbuilding. Majority, 80% of our admirals were trained in India. We look for such strategic partnership because it creates wealth, it creates job. Then Dunlop used to be in Calabar, they moved to Liberia. Why can't we bring them back? What happened to the RSS2, RSS4 rubber plantations in the western part of the nation? What are we doing with our cocoa? Cote d'Ivoire has taken over. Even when Cote d'Ivoire was down, did we feel it? So the western region needs to come up. And people will tell you, well, you need regional autonomy to do that. No, federal government have put in so much fund there. So we need to have cooperative farming for strategic placement of agriculture in this country. You look at aviation. So
let's leave it there for now, because it's related to an email that I want to read. An email from Hama Ali Kwajafar. He's the president of National Cotton Association of Nigeria, and I think Dr. Binder will be interested in these. He said, why is Nigeria not benefiting from the biotechnology in food and cash crops, especially cotton, which will generate employment in the textile industry and farmers profit from the sale of the product?
Well, it's basically knowledge. You see, the world has changed from this commodity trading. You are cutting huge amount of low-value products over long distance.
I'm not cutting you short. Let's quickly take this call, and we will come back to you. Okay. You're on to Tuesday Live. Hello, this is Tuesday Live.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, you're on to Tuesday Live. Go right away with your question.
Tuesday Live, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but put down the volume of your TV set, please.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Go ahead with your question.
My question goes like this. What happened to the local government? Hello? Hello?
Go ahead with your question. Well, he was saying what happened to the local government, and I think we have already addressed that issue. Dr. Mindel, let's go very quickly to the issue of the biotechnology in food and cash crop production.
I think it's not just by, I mean, these are all challenges of technology. I wished TAN actually will take technology as part of its own.
Its own agenda.
Anyway, but you see, no, I like your advocacy model very, very seriously, and it could work on technology. You see, the world has changed. It is not a joke that people say that this is information age. It's not just information because you are listening to NTA or channels or whatever. Knowledge is when you add value to the brains. And the factories for this brain value addition is your institutions, your academic institutions, your research facilities, your capabilities, the morale that you use to boost your researchers. Yes, biotechnology will improve your crop production. Biotechnology will inject know-how into your healthcare system. Biotechnology will ensure your industry works well, fermentation and so on and so on. This is a range of biotechnology. It's just unending. Biotechnology will lead you to production of new materials and so on and so forth. But it does not rain from the sky. It comes out of people who are consistently smart, in institutions that are well capacitated, with good teams that have capabilities. This is where Nigeria needs to go to. Institutions has to evolve. If it is a research institution, it must be sharp. You must see PhDs. The laboratories must be superior. You must see publications that are globally are shaking. It's not just having materials all over the place. You must harness them using knowledge. So yes, Nigeria, we've started. We have now, I think it was Professor Turner Isong that moved during the Obasanjo era and
Former Minister of Science and Tech.
that started the Biotechnology Development Agency. They are moving, crawling very slowly. However, this type of high technology research facilities does not survive if you don't have two things. One, every country that have made progress using knowledge and technology has got a council. That council is chaired by the president itself or prime minister. Nigeria, you cannot believe it has this. The president has inaugurated this council. But for us to move it to the next level, in most cases when we have a policy like this, it's diluted by other things and then we slow down. Secondly, research funding. Every country that have made progress that I know, you will see a clear percentage of their GDP that is dedicated to scientific research. South Korea dedicated nearly 4%. And this is $1 trillion GDP,
China.
not in. So
What is Nigeria's level now?
but Nigeria, Nigeria is probably at 0.01. However, the federal government has approved the establishment of this fund. Again, policy is there. It's approved. We're crawling very slowly in implementing it. So in 2015, I'm just dragging. So it would be nice to actually see these reform or transformation facilities bloom very, very quickly so that our universities should stop this where you have a pool of professors, pool of PhDs, but you're waiting for overhead from federal government budget. I mean, MIT in the US and ABU is exactly the same thing. One is ABU, one is MIT. So names are okay. You go to ABU, you see buildings. You go to MIT, you see buildings. So they are, you see PhDs, professors. However, when you come to the lowest point of value addition, MIT is getting $10 billion from its knowledge. ABU is waiting for government budget. This transformation has to happen, commencing from 2015. That's our hope.
Let's quickly take Mahmoud from Mina. Hello, Mahmoud. You're on to Tuesday Live. Hello.
Good morning.
You're on the Tuesday Live.
It's not morning yet.
Good morning.
It's not morning yet.
Actually, to the ladies, to the gentlemen, we're talking about the topic is how to move Nigeria forward.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mahmoud.
It is very bad pointing accusing fingers to one person or the other. The topic of discussion should be how to move Nigeria forward.
I think it's just warning us too.
Mahmoud, please go ahead. Ask your question.
And if I may ask, the present government, hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Mahmoud.
Hello?
Oh.
Hello?
Give him sign language to move forward.
How do you
Can you move on with your question?
how do you give a sign language?
Well, it appears maybe
He's watching.
he's having some technology problem there.
Well, but the issue there is that they were saying hello, we're hearing him. So
Exactly.
You should have gone on to
Exactly.
Well,
Well, another email. All right.
I was going to react to Prof's analysis. Beautiful. And I think I need to connect what he said with what
Mr.
Max
Wellington said, yeah.
See, there's a gap between research and application in Nigeria. You have a lot of work being done in research institutes, new innovations in agriculture. But the average farmer hardly have access to these innovations and efforts.
It's the same disconnect that Mr. Benite is talking about politically.
No, hold on. See, the ADP at one point was established purposely to drive that process, to subvert it. And I know that NOAA, when it started, was actually helping in promoting extension to farmers, through the distribution of new technologies. I was involved in that. And I think that we shouldn't wait for billions to happen, to be provided before we can get things done. We have the structure. Let those who run the structure do their job. And the universities have always argued that it has the highest concentration of intellectuals. Universities have no business being poor. They have no reason to be poor because every skill, every endeavor university
right now, what is the link between the universities and the industries?
No, let's look at the university.
Very weak.
Why?
Well, sorry, Professor. You see, the issue is industrial linkage from the knowledge pool to the application pool has a process. It does not happen just as this itself is a profession. And I can tell you authoritatively, the day a country understands how to move the knowledge within its knowledge institutions into its people, industry, it will be developed. So any country that you see undeveloped does not understand this process. And this process starts by first, when you come up with a technology is a solution. You protect it. If you don't, patenting or trademarking or trade secreting or whatever, there are a long range of protection. It is this protection that gives you the certificate of occupancy. It's like your piece of land. If you have a piece of land, you don't have the certificate of occupancy, another farmer enters into it, you fight.
Right now, the universities are not doing that.
The universities are very weak, but we are trying to improve that. When that protection is there, then you have to commercialize it. Commercialization is commerce, application of commercial skills. You must do feasibility. You must ensure that involves a lot of funding. You must do branding. You must produce and test. Then you must innovate, meaning that many products has to come up from this one. These processes cost money. That is why you need the research fund. Because nobody can go to a bank. A university cannot go to a bank and take 2 billion naira to develop technology. It could just go down the drain. So what do? The vice chancellor should go to jail? No. That is why most countries have that fund. You can apply to say, look, I have come up with a process of artificially inseminating snails to produce 10,000 snails in a day. Fantastic, this is good industry. Take this 10 million naira, develop it. This is what most country has got. And this is where, in my opinion, we are heading to. If we have that...
Where is NOTAP in all this?
No, something is happening in the new university, Federal University of Kebbi. I ran into the Vice Chancellor. I was excited when he mentioned that they've recently acquired 20,000 hectares of land to plant moringa seed. They want the university to raise moringa for the world. If they can capture 2% of the world needs of moringa, they've funded the university. They don't have to depend on federal government. I think that is a new way of thinking that Dr. Bello is talking about. But I also think in this 2015 and beyond, corruption is something that is eating us. And you cannot fight corruption by reacting to accusation. You must empower the agencies, the EFCC, the ICPC, Police Special Fraud Unit, the SSS,
investigate and prosecute.
No, first of all, you must give them the enabling law for wiretaps, enabling laws for sting operations, so that they can do these things and preempt corruption.
Mr. Roberto, let's quickly take this caller. From Kaduna, you are on to Tuesday Live.
We'll be successful this time, for once.
You're on to Tuesday Live.
Hello.
Hello, this is Tuesday Live. Ask your question, please.
Do him like this.
Ask your question. You're on to Tuesday Live. We can hear you.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Go ahead. This is Tuesday Live. Ask your question or make your comment. You're on to Tuesday Live.
My question goes to the PDP Deputy Director of Publicity there. It seems that the PDP government Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, please.
We are hearing you.
I want you to signal me. I'm watching you on the screen. Do you
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Go ahead and ask the question.
Go ahead.
Well, I've not concluded my question. Is it that the government of the PDP, which has been at the federal level, is that the party is not in control? The party has no manifesto of itself. Yes, is it that the party has no manifesto? Is it the president that drives the party, or the party is the one that drives the president? Because you are now alluding that the PDP government before Jonathan has done something wrong, or there are certain things that we are not right. But what is it that there is no continuity in presidency, because there is no other party that has taken power at the federal level apart from PDP. So you are now saying, you are now bringing out Jonathan as a separate person, as if he's not a member of that party. The government of the day is the PDP, and the PDP should have a clear manifesto, a roadmap where they are taking Nigeria to. Now they have left the issue on the hand of an individual who comes in and takes a decision on how he feels, his personal decisions, and use it on Nigerians. That is not how government is run. The party should have a manifesto, a roadmap. This is what this is where we are now. This is where we are taking Nigerians to. It's not for one man to drive the party. That is my position. Thank you very much.
You are not asking any question, but Dr. Udenta, I know you will very quickly address this.
Let me take that issue. Even though he directed the question to me, even though I didn't raise it, it must have raised the issue of LBJ. One is that Obama, Democratic Party, Clinton, Democratic Party, Jimmy Carter, Democratic Party. You can talk to some about the Republicans. The Obama years, still continuing, will never be the Clinton years, and never will be the Jimmy Carter years. Even though they all came from the same stock of the Democratic Party in the US. Why a party is there to provide a basic philosophical backdrop
and the platform.
And the platform for you to showcase your credentials and what abilities you have. What Mas is saying here, essentially, his analysis is that on the power sector, PDP manifesto could have spoken like this. Obasanjo and his team did a different thing that never improved that sector. It is not an indictment on the PDP manifesto, but an indictment of the incompetence of that administration that injected $16 billion and delivered nothing. If you take any other sector, he mentioned, or we collectively mentioned, he's saying that in spite of the fact that the party has the opportunity given to an individual as a president and a team, that individual and his team did not live up to expectation, neither did he deliver on the mandate delivered by the party and the people of the country. Conversely, the analysis is that having witnessed in the power sector the zero application of fund in transforming that sector, most actually the last two governments shied away from the roadmap because it's a daunting process to, in one fell swoop, hand over two major critical infrastructure, the Gencos, which is the generating company, and the Discos, maintaining only marginal control over the third one, which is the transmission backbone, to private sector, and they still have electricity even for 1 hour. It shows resolve and strength. Because if you do that, courage. If you do that, it can collapse. But the fact that it has endured and it is working and incrementally growing, what analysis we made earlier is that apply 16 billion, you avoided the roadmap, nothing came out of it, nothing to do with PDP or its manifesto. It had to do with the capacity and competence of the person who was in charge. Now the president is in charge, incrementally growing the economy, enhancing human capacity, transforming the entity called Nigeria in his transformation agenda. That is simply a message that you can have a manifesto of one presidential term and a manifesto of the same of another presidential term and produce radically different results.
With that explanation, do you still have another explanation?
No,
if not, I want us to move on.
I was actually moving on, and then according to the democratic space defined by Udanta, the gentleman exhibited emotional erection, and it's acceptable. So what I was saying actually is that government must put in place opportunity for corruption fighting agencies to be proactive,
to do their job,
fund them and do their job. Then the judiciary at this particular point in time now needs to again diversify itself by creating opportunity for parole system in the prison sector, opportunity for probation system in the prison sector, opportunity
An alternative
opportunity
dispute.
for special courts. Already we are ahead because we have industrial court. Justice Adejumo is doing a fantastic job there. Then we have the investment tribunal court, which is also doing a fantastic job, but we now need a special court for terrorists and armed robbery, a special court for special civil part, a court for land matters. This way, justices can
You don't
go
need
to
a court for kidnappers.
And look, that is a special court. Now, this way, a judge can go into the court knowing that the cases he's trying are purely civil matter. A judge must be able to adjudicate on this matter on a timeline. Cases shouldn't overflow for years. So the judiciary needs to again claim its independence by being innovative enough to transform that sector.
Interestingly, some arm of the judiciary are on a strike now.
Yeah, that's what we...
Well, permit me to smile a little bit.
You know there's something, You know something, when you talked about corruption, I look at the issue of strengthening institutions. We've been singing that song for over 10 years now. Strengthen institutions. Empower, all the agencies.
All strata
Try
of
to build
institutions.
all their capacities and everything. There's something in governance called scapegoatism. People don't like scapegoating people, but they need to have one or two scapegoats. We have a former governor who is languishing in jail abroad. We don't have a single one. From 2007, when the bulk of the governors fell foul of this EFCC and other extant anti-corruption laws. 7 years down the line, none of the cases have even approached the level of trial. It's 14 motions at the lower court. It takes a year to clean those 14 motions, then apply to the appeal court on every of the 14 motions. It takes about 2 more years to dispose of it. Then you go to Supreme Court on the same motion. So you now have a single governor, ex-governor from Edo State, that's a Winidian who paid a few paltry sum and then let off. If you have had, for example, 3 or 4 ex-governors whose matters have been settled on the basis of this new revolutionary application of the law by the judicial apparatus of the state, and you find them jailed, 2, 3 very important Nigerians who are caught up under the snare of anti-corruption laws, then everybody can begin to sit up. So when you hold the political leaders somehow responsible for the slow work in terms of anti-corruption, you must equally understand that you can do the job as a policeman, you can do the job as an investigator, you can do the job as a member of the EFCC's special squad, you can apply all the rules of the game, get all the materials available to you, get all the wiretap, get all the data, file it to court. But you cannot decide for the court when and how to proceed with the matter, except there is a reinvention that is constitutional in nature that helps in the establishment of the special courts he mentioned with timeline and time bar on disposing of so many of these critical cases that can shape the future of anti-corruption struggle.
Very related to that, how do we begin now to look at challenges to tackling election disputes? We're approaching election.
We had 4 years to do that. That is, members of the National Assembly should have looked at nation first before themselves. Majority of them felt that if they put enabling laws...
They have few months to finish their term. Their term is ending in June.
Wait a minute.
What should they do when they reconvene? Very quickly.
If they can introduce a law that deals with election violence, election malpractice, some of these things are already part of the Justice Uwaye's report that was yet to be adopted. The president also needs to help himself by looking at all the reports that he called for, the NNPC report, the Ministry of Petroleum report, the Justice Uwaye's report, and again, show seriousness in terms of adopting one, knowing that even if members of his party are ensnared in it, it is for better judgment for the future of this nation. So, collecting all these reports and putting it somewhere, I don't know how it makes sense. So, in as much as he has members of his party, he has his advisors trying to help him, he needs to show resoluteness in saying, I'm going to go this way. Because Nigeria right now needs that from the president. Nigeria needs confidence building from the president.
Dr. Adebayo, fast-tracking election dispute or discharging them as we approach the 2015 elections?
I think the electoral law provides a framework for that. But basically, and I want to agree with Dr. Odenta here, we need to develop confidence in the institutions already created. And for me, the way to address the problem, the way to fast-track, is to build confidence in the system, encourage those who have the responsibilities to perform their roles without let or hindrance, and let everyone who has any problem go to court to pursue any way of getting redress in the law court. Basically, therefore, for me, the laws are there. We really do not need to need new laws. What we need to do is to see how we can best implement the current laws on the basis of people believing in the system to addressing their grievances. So ultimately, therefore, what it means is that, and the president has been saying this several times, people need to build institutions. People need to believe in the institutions of the state, and therefore they must explore. It's only when we explore opportunities provided for in the laws that we can actually grow the system, and ultimately, therefore, we can over time find a way of fine-tuning, improving the system so they can perform optimally.
Well, Dr. Binde, let's quickly look at some issues of the economy as well. With the dwindling oil revenue, a lot of people are talking about the need for palliatives for the average Nigerian or the less privileged to cushion the harsh economic realities. What do you think governments across the board, not just the federal government, states and local government should do?
Well, I think as far as I'm concerned, diversifying this economy is key. And if the oil revenues are losing momentum, they are losing momentum because we are too dependent on it. Let me tell you the facts. Nigeria, the whole oil that Nigeria has is literally just the crude. And we are not very good in even identifying where it is, pulling it out, processing it. All these are opportunities that are sitting in front of us, and we're not taking it because literally we're showcasing to the world that we're not serious in acquiring the knowledge that is necessary to utilize even what is there in front of us. Two, you see, I am not particularly a petroleum economist, but I wished I had figures of how much of finished refined products do we import to this country. Then you subtract. How much crude do you sell, so you get X dollars? How much of products do you import, which is Y dollars? So X minus Y will show you the value of your crude. I wish I had those figures. If we were only to refine this and stop half of it, what will happen? It means we will save half. If we were to go 75%, this is the way to go so that you can see the value of refining and using it internally. Now, coming to the states and local governments, I think even at the federal government level, we are not showcasing the big brother syndrome thing. You find that some institutions at the federal level are doing local government things. You know, you are training people to do with vulcanizer, tailoring at federal government institution level. No. You should actually mature step by step. Local government should do local government things. How do you make wheelbarrows? How do you sell water? How do you fry akara? How do you do this? This should be local government project. You come to the state, they should go higher. But at federal government level, we should compare ourselves with the very best in the world. We should be producing people, consultants, you know, like my brother Max, should have a school producing consultants in the security or defense system who are earning $10 million per year. You know what I mean? And then my brother, Dr. Identa, should also be a professor at the federal level, producing intellectuals coming out from NYC who are not looking for jobs in NOTAP or other agencies, people who can see the opportunities in Nigeria and be able to move. But we have all of it mixed up, local government things at the federal level, federal things moving, and before we know, all the money we have, even from the oil, is actually dissipated. So the best way to fight this oil revenue is to understand the pluses and minuses. Where do we close? I mean, if I conclude with the power sector, you find that, I mean, as Director General of NOTAB, if you were only to know how much money that we actually spend to bring experts to do the generation, the transmission, the distribution, even the marketing, if we were to close that by 50%, we will not even feel the effect of the oil. So, and this goes with so many of the sectors that are technologically...
Two sentences there on this particular issue.
All right.
What do we say is a mode of invention? Necessity.
Yeah.
Is a mode of invention. Possibly when I wasn't very close, to state apparatus and party responsibilities, we used to say, close friends, let's put oil revenue in escrow for 5 years. Let us see the ability of our leaders to creatively engineer a method of building a budget, resourcing the budget, and developing their entities. There is a disconnect between Nigerians and oil revenue. And when there's a disconnect between the people and the wealth, then the danger signal is there for the development not to occur.
How do you create the
Let me
connection?
tell you. Let me tell you.
Very quickly. How do you bring
the example I will give you is this. A Benue local government chairman said to his community leaders who called him, they told him, the money that you bring from Abuja, we're not interested in it. The one that you collect from us as rate and tax and so on, then we want you to tell us how you spend it. That they believe it is your money. So when there's no oil money, for example, people now begin to think in terms of the little ones they can contribute to the local government chairman, to the councillor, to the governor. Let us see how you use it. Every person here belongs to a community union. There's no one penny that we miss in a year. Everybody there, because you contribute to it, you have to know how it's applied. But when you have this bogus oil revenue coming in from, as you said, every source, local government doing federal thing doing state thing, and so on there, it is nobody's money. Now the money is diminished. We want to know where the real money is going to come from. And then get the quality individuals, highly experienced and exposed with this technical skills and ability to run very lean budgets, system that can deliver maximum result.
And that is the more reason why now Nigerians should elect the right people.
Absolutely.
That will manage their resources, manage the economy,
with very little coming into stability.
So let's very quickly look at this. They say security is everybody's business. I know Mr. Gbanite will be smiling because this is an issue regularly. What should we do now to ensure adequate security in the land as we move towards the 2015 election? I want you to speak last. Very quickly, Dr. Binder.
Well, security. I was just waiting
for a few minutes to go.
Yes, I think as far as I'm concerned is mobilizing people to understand that we have a great country. We need to choose people peacefully. We need to follow them peacefully. And we need to also help them so that they can be able to unleash the opportunities we have so that we can take them. We need to calm down. We don't need to go so primitive that, we're all fisted ready, that whatever happens, we will not be happy. No, we have a great country. We must understand, but we need a lot of advocacy. That is why the orientation agency, the SMEDANs, the NOTABs, the NTAs, everybody has to mobilize and be able to give information to Nigerians to understand that this is a fantastic country and we need to work together. This oneness is just a word, but oneness has to be by deed.
Yeah, I think that there must be an effective synergy between the people and the security agencies on one hand, because security agencies are not angels. They can only work on the basis of information available to them. Therefore, I think the awareness must be such that people should understand that the community belongs to them, and they can only have peace if they are able to identify those who may want to undermine the peace of the community by informing the security agencies. On the other hand, we also have to ensure that there is penalty for those who want to foment trouble. Election is about choosing leadership. Election is a fundamental developmental issue, and therefore it should be conducted in an atmosphere of peace, atmosphere of tranquility, and therefore people should be able to exercise their mandate or the franchise without little hindrance.
Dr. Odenta.
No, just
we are out of time. Dr. Odenta, very quickly, please.
Just very quickly. One, strategic information gathering and data analysis between the people and the agencies. Two, deepen community policing, professionalize the neighborhood watch system, which they call the vigilante group and so on, just for the immediate period. As we move towards the election, if we put these three things in place, strategic information gathering and data utilization, community policing, professionalize the vigilante system.
The president said three things in his speech: that those who foment trouble pre, during, and after election will be dealt with, which means the immediate danger is pre, during, and post-election violence. Enlightenment. Police, everybody gets on radio. The traditional rulers go on radio telling the local people that election is not an avenue to death, that your vote should count, and that somebody must emerge a winner, that the loser does not mean you should go and kill somebody. Total enlightenment of the masses. When you're able to do that, you have saved your nation post-2015 election. Then we can move into the next level of security.
Thank you so very much, gentlemen. Moving Nigeria forward in peace and tranquility has been the focus, and I think you have done justice to most of these issues. You've told us how we must move forward, how elections in 2015, this very February, should be a watershed, and we should move beyond it. Dr. Umar Bende, Director General, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP, thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you.
Dr. Larry Adebayo, a public affairs analyst, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bat Banite, security consultant, thank you very much for your insights.
Happy New Year, Nigerians.
Dr. Udenta, Assistant Director, Publicity, PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, thank you for giving us all those insights about the usefulness and the need to use political parties as platforms for development, not just for elections, you said. Thank you so very much. It is on this note, we say that do your bit, collect your voter's card, and make sure you keep it and then vote during the elections. Let's keep Nigeria one and make it stable so that the economy can continue to grow, and we should consolidate Nigeria's democracy. It is on this note, we say thank you for being there. My name is Muhammad Kudo Abubakar. Bye for now. Until next week when we come your way again with another topic. This is Tuesday Live.
Of the president and the occupier of the office of the president, whoever they may be. Over the years, we have seen our illustrious sons become presidents of this great nation. Today, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is our president, and because he encourages the freedom of speech, Nigerians can speak freely no matter their opinion. But let us remember that respect for the office of the president is the civic responsibility of every Nigerian. So, respect our president today, and if tomorrow you become president, we promise to respect you.
This message is brought to you by Community Awareness and Development Network, Kawan.